if you would get 100 of your friends and...
Shut your damn cake hole!
Yeah, that's what I say. If you would get 100 of...
Really funny. Really funny. What do you mean I'm funny?
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, folks. I'm going to try to talk to you today in somewhat a...
Tony Caravan.
Same way.
You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, and not what you don't.
Don't talk over...
Quality, quantity, and variety.
ROCKFLUX.
And here we go. It's time for another show. Sunday, August 29th. August is winding down. My microphone is also winding down. Game over, baby. Sorry for clearing the throat online. Hot to the tot and stronger than you can imagine. It's a hybrid of Kona coffee and something else. We'll be getting to that in a little bit. I have to set up the title card. I kind of came in at the last minute on. So I've got to add that properly. It's kind of a screwed up, crazy title card. I like it. I like it. Wow, look how tiny it looks up there. How'd that happen? This is what made you click. This is what made you click. You forgot your book. You forgot your book. Oh, man. It's pretty crazy.
This is a nightmare. It must be a nightmare.
You betcha. Every man for himself, women too. I just chatted that on the old chat thing. Title of the show is straight out Tony Caravan Live 8/29/21 Dystopia. I don't know how else to say it, right? I mean, it's freaking dystopia. I mean, what's going on? And I don't even know where to start, to be honest with you. But we're going to go through this thing. 6:34 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time in the former United States. I'm situated somewhere in the mid-Atlantic states, about an hour from one of the entrances to the Northern Appalachian Trail for geographical reference. Slurping some coffee. And it's already daylight out. I rarely do these shows at daylight. So I don't know if you can notice the colorization is a little bit different. We still have the game over all over the place, on the hat, on the board, on the girl with the hoodie. You don't know what you don't know, and everything you know is wrong. All the stuff that Tony Caravan Live and ROCKFLUX.com are all about. And we're going to get into these things bit by bit. But before we do that, as the weekend winds down, let's go through this weekend weather.
Weekend weather.
And as you know, here is the latest, or this morning's report. I'll show you the latest picture of people are talking about Hurricane Ida. And this is a valid 8 a.m. Sunday, August 29th, 21. So this is what's going on right now. So pay attention to this. Obviously, I don't have anybody watching down in the Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama area, Gulf Coast area. There's rain and thunderstorms all down along the Gulf Coast of the U.S. But as you can see, Ida is up to 140 miles per hour sustained speeds. So it's a very powerful Category 4 hurricane. All right. And like they say, let me just get rid of some of this stuff. That's no small potatoes, and something that needs to be taken very seriously. But, these storms happen. They've happened before. Some of us have seen, we've seen countless hurricanes. This has nothing to do with climate change or any kind of CO2 in the atmosphere. This is what we get every so often. We have these hurricanes. And, people who don't heed the warnings about these things, the outcome is not usually positive. Now you can see over that area where Ida is approaching the coastline right now. You're going to see heavy rain, flash flooding, severe thunderstorms. And with those kinds of winds, any wind over 100 miles per hour, I'll tell you, we get winds around here. We've had sustained winds that have almost been tropical storm winds up where I am. And that's been enough to take the tiles off my roof. Excuse me. In fact, last night, and I'll just take this thing down for a second. Last night, or evening, while I was watching some movie, I was watching a movie, Snowpiercer, just for the hell of it, which, was which really ended kind of weird. When you think about it, it's just like, it's like they didn't have an ending for it. I don't know. But I had seen it a long time ago, but I forgot it, it's years old. But I was in the mood for a dystopia movie. This is Dystopia. It's like, the whole world is dystopian. So I just thought, well, I'll watch a dystopian movie. I had the air conditioning on for a solid hour, and I just turned it off before I started the show. And I already feel it getting warm. That's how frickin' humid and hot it is up in my neck of the woods. And I'm the mid-Atlantic states, basically. Now, I think we're ultimately in the path of that storm when it just becomes, when it's totally over and it's just this weather event. But don't discount those weather events if you're up, and we'll get back, if you're, anywhere up into Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, New York, even New York State. Because when that thing dies down south, that's coming up our way. And that means it's going to bring rains and winds with it. But, the last time we had, and I'm up in that neck of the woods, and I have lost basically, I don't know, well over a third, if not half of the roofing tiles on my roof. And so I was trying to patch my roof from the inside because I can't find anyone who patches roofs, who fixes roofs, like who does tar, tile, that kind of thing. Everybody wants to put a metal roof on. Everyone should charge you something like $12,000 to $20,000. Well, I don't have that kind of money to kick out for a roof. So yesterday afternoon, while I'm watching this movie, Snowpiercer, starts thundering, and there's a deluge. I mean, a deluge, like just rain coming down, like, raining like cats and dogs. I haven't heard anybody say that in years. So I decide, because my bedroom is right under the attic, and the attic, of course, is right under this roof. So I decide to go up, see what's going on, and sure enough, there's rain. I've got all kinds of buckets from the dollar store, like, trays, pans, not pans, but, like these plastic things. Various things people use for everything from changing their oil to, to put in their sink to wash their dishes. I'm talking about plasticware, stuff that cost $1. On one side of my, I had to rip out the walls to get access to the roof where I tried to caulk, paint, like roofing paint, and then put nail from the inside over top of the slats, with where you could see sky previously. Well, anyway, that worked for a little while. It doesn't work when you get these deluges and stuff. And the water was just dripping down, filling those bins. Then on the other side of my roof, where I'd never really had any problems before, the water was just dripping down like crazy. I had an extra bin. I got some old shirts. I had picked up a couple towels at the dollar store, only 2 of them. And I'm shoving them against the wall so the stuff doesn't creak down through the wall, trying to get this plastic thing. Am I painting a picture for you? I was going to take a picture, but I just didn't even want to go up there. Besides, it was dark this morning when I got up. And I'm not even in a hurricane. That was just a deluge. And it lasted for almost an hour or so. And I'm sure people in lower areas, I'm kind of like halfway down a street that's kind of has a little bit of an, pitch to it. The street, you're going down. But I'm sure people at the bottom or people in lower areas had, flash flooding events. So now I got to worry about when this thing, I mean, forget about the people down there. You're in big trouble if you live down in these parts. If you're anywhere down there where those red and yellow, things are crisscrossing, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, what they call the panhandle of Florida, the panhandle of Texas, because it's like a pan. You think of a pot and pan. Such an idiotic name for adults, and something to name actually a piece of land. Panhandle. The handle of a pan. That's really what it is. But yeah, right. Look at that area. And that thing is going to kind of curl right, is what they're saying. But those sustained winds, as of I just checked moments ago, were like 140 miles per hour. So we're talking about some serious stuff there. That's your
weekend weather.
And
the Weather Watch forecast.
Now, for people in my neck of the woods, I'm just going to get into while I show you another picture of this. This is from NOAA. This is what the hurricane actually looked like just a little while ago. Now, someone who happens to be up towards the mid-Atlantic state, currently they're saying that here it's about 70 degrees outside my door. I didn't go out, but I know it's like higher than that. It's probably about 72, 73 and humid. It's going to be overcast, but chance of sun coming out a little bit later today. But a chance of thunderstorms is 70%. It's going to get a high of 86. That's why it's a 70% chance, because that 86 turns into 90 by late in the afternoon, and late in the afternoon, you just get a cloud burst. And the overnight 70, which means there's no release or relief, from the humidity and, and the heat. So I guess I'm going to be spending some time up in the attic again.
The Weather Watch forecast.
But you can see the eye of the storm there is fairly defined. It's not a clear hole, but then again, this photo almost seems to be taken at an angle, not from straight over. But I'm giving you this Tony Caravan live,
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
I'm trying to give you the latest news, and you could feel free to share this with whomever or whatever you want to. And you contrast that image to this picture that I took in my garden just a couple of days ago, literally 2 days ago, with one of these little butterflies, and a little purplish thing in the background may well be, I'm not sure what kind of flower that is. I was going to say morning glory, but I'm not sure. I planted some morning glories. I never noticed that before. But this is just a little vine growing up by my fence. And a butterfly on the green that lives off the CO2 that we exhale and what have you. And just a little bit of contrast there. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? But it's a mad world, and it's pretty much game over. And you don't know what you don't know. So I thought we would, just for the absurdity of it all, look at some of this idiotic news. Okay. Now, obviously the thing, right, that we were focused on. I mean, this is very important. I mean, I want you to comprehend what I'm trying to get across here. I don't want to shrink this down too much because I want you to be able to see everything that needs to be seen. 13 U.S. service members killed in Kabul airport. Of course, there was several hundred people died in already, and we don't know if they were Americans, who they were. So hundreds of people have been killed already because of this insanity. Now, but besides that, okay, and that's why I'm saying, I'm keeping the game over right here. I'm just going to position this. I mean, this is game over. Dystopia. But this is Google News. This isn't me. All right? You don't know what you don't know. So this thing that was the forefront 24/7, the thing we can't speak of, as you can see there, is still at the top under the word headlines, but you got to click if you want to see the latest coverage on that. Okay. So that's taking a back seat. Let's put this in order to the hurricane. Okay. Now, but prior to the hurricane, it was Afghanistan. All right. You see what I'm saying? And then there were all these revelations that came out last week that I did shows on. Not this past week, but partially this past week into the week prior. But within the past week or two. They were like exposés. There was some Supreme Court action. There was all this kind of stuff. Now, all of this stuff now is buried, all of that. Right? And so even the Afghanistan thing now is being buried. You see what's happening here in the news, how this works. And so all the news now is going to be 24/7 hurricane. And meanwhile, who knows what they're going to do over in Afghanistan. Right? If these thousands of people, upwards of something like estimates are 10 to 30,000 people. There might be 10,000 Americans, 10 or more thousand Americans are trapped there. And that's going to be a side story, a follow story. The main coverage is going to be, it's how news organizations work. See, they want the fire, right? The murder, right? The big thing, the storm that kills, the graphic visuals to be the lead-ins because people like that. Remember, that's what TV shows are all about. Tragedy. Right? What are the most popular shows on TV? Hospital shows, cop shows, fire shows, right? And even horror shows for that matter. Horror. I mean, for 10 years, it was like wall-to-wall zombie movies and zombie shows. But it's always been cop shows. They're all over the place. Cops. But it's not about cops. It's about murders and stuff like that. It's like if you didn't know how to commit the perfect murder before, you definitely know you've learned over the past 30 years in the U.S. through these various shows. And I'm sure there's a bunch of psychopaths out there with notebooks that have been taking watching NYPD, various binge watching those kinds of shows, who've been sitting there with a, composition book, making notes every day while they binge watch this. $90,000 homicides in the U.S. a year, and the majority of them go unsolved. People literally get away with murder. Okay. That's not on here anywhere. This storm is a real serious thing, and a lot of people are going to lose their lives. They're going to lose their house. They're going to lose their livelihoods. Excuse me. It's in the same place where they always hit. And I've talked about this before on this show. Right? And for weeks, they'll be covering these what they call human interest stories. Think about that term. Human interest story. So humans have interest in this? Or this is a human who is interesting? Why do they call them human interest stories? Here's a human interest story on a survivor or a tragedy that happened because of Hurricane Ida. Right. By the way, there was another Hurricane Ida about back in 2009 or something like that too. It's like it's kind of weird with the names, Can they come up with a different name? They repeat them from a list. I don't know. People seem to have all these weird, bizarre names, and all these rap singers have weird names. Couldn't they start using those instead of starting to repeat another hurricane name? But let's look at the idiocy here. Hurricane Ida versus Hurricane Katrina, comparing the two storms. Okay, this is a thing that's going to kill people and destroy people's houses and livelihoods. And that's a headline. Packed with virus patients, Louisiana hospital await Ida. Well, why? Why are they there? Right? Where's FEMA? Remember that thing they did in New York where they built, first of all, we have those ships, of course you don't want to put a ship in the middle of a hurricane. But I mean, they built that ridiculous that hospital that would fit 3,000 people in New York City, but Cuomo and de Blasio never used it. Instead, he sent people to nursing homes where they killed thousands of people. Well, why doesn't FEMA? I mean, we know the track of this storm. Okay, let me just take this news out for a second. All right, I'll leave the game over there for the hell of it. So why haven't they had warning of this. They knew it was going to hit. They knew, they even had the extremes left, right, where it could swing. So why didn't they build somewhere over on the coast of Texas, not on the coast, but I mean on inland Texas, like you see where it says Dallas? Right along the border, somewhere just beyond the border of Texas, up where the word Dallas is, so to speak, hospital. I mean, these are several hours away. All right, you got to cross an entire state, but I've done that. I've driven. It's hours. It's not days. And, they do have this thing, people who are very seriously ill, they could have airlifted people if they didn't have empty hospital space, literally in Dallas or Atlanta, Georgia. But they didn't. Why didn't they? Question. Just a question. Okay. Packed with virus patients, Louisiana hospitals await Ida. Await. So that it's news coverage? Here's a funny one. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny in a very black humor way. Time is not on our side. Gulf Coast braces for Sunday arrival. Potential Category 4 storm. Well, that's what it is right now. Well, the thing is, time was on your side. I watched a report from the National Weather Service yesterday at 4 p.m. Okay? And they were saying, evacuate. Even if it's nighttime, it'll be still okay. You've got time. Evacuate. All right. What's the problem there? See, these cities, it's the year 2021. Okay, that's something you got to get through your head. I say this almost every show. It's not 1918. It's not 1964 or even the 80s. Excuse me. It's the year 2021. You get Elon Musk, spending money building robots. You got Apple Computer, building up for its big September launch of new iPhones. A frickin' phone, man. A smartphone with apps. All right? You get these high-tech companies, billions and billions of dollars just creating toys. Or things that other people can do. Things to take the place of stuff that people do for a living. And some people have fun doing them. And instead of those people, why haven't they developed along the Gulf Coast, use their technology and come up with some incredible architectural, things, to deal with these storms. Because a lot of times one of the worst things of all is like storm surge and the flooding and stuff like that. More so than anything else. And I told you about the rains. Do you know that, basically, if you take, people have these dome homes or they have these rounded corner, in other words, round instead of these, the classical rectangular home, right? That everyone seems to want to have. Want to live in a cookie cutter box of rectangular homes in a neighborhood. And they make them out of sticks. That's why the price of wood is so up, because people just keep building these stick homes, right? Twigs. They're toothpicks to hurricanes. Now, why wouldn't there be mandatory regulations in the along the Gulf Coast that homes in the front line, so to speak, had to be oval? Had to have rounded corners. Okay? There's a beautiful house down the street from me that on the corner of it is it's this rounded thing. It's a beautiful architectural feature, right? The thing is, with these dome type homes and these round features, this has been studied, tested, they can withstand 400 mile an hour winds. Because what happens is, instead of the winds coming at you and it just hits this thing and huffs and puffs and blows your house down or pops the roof off. When you have a curved structure, and that's what I'm talking about, some kind of curvature, instead of these, you curve it. You make it roundish. The wind then is forced to go this way. Withstand 400-mile-an-hour winds. As opposed to a rectangular stick home, could hardly withstand 75-mile-an-hour winds. It's definitely that takes the hurricane category 1's going to like cause serious damage. Power lines down, roof tiles taken off. Once you get an 85, once you get up to 100-mile-an-hour winds, you're losing roofs, and you're guaranteed long-term power outages. Shouldn't all the power lines be conduited? Right? Told you about when I lived in, growing up as a kid. I never knew what a telephone pole was till we moved back to where I was born in a town, and then we moved away for several years. So I went to kindergarten, and I spent like a year or two in this other town. So as you're becoming more aware, because when you're like 3, you don't know what's going on. Really, you're in the house, you got toys and your parents and whatever. You're playing. You get in a car, you go somewhere. You're not, So we moved, I think, and I was like 3, or something like that. And I was down there, and I remember kindergarten down at that place. So you're starting to become aware, and you're a kid. And we started to walk with my brother was older than I was, and so we walked to school together. It was safe days years ago, looking around the sky and stuff. So I was aware of things. So then I came back because I was there like just before kindergarten and in kindergarten there. And then I came here 1st or 2nd grade. Not here. I mean, my town of where I grew up and went to grade school and high school and stuff. Oh man, I'm already getting hot. Air conditioner's been off for like 20 minutes, half hour. And I noticed these poles and all these wires and stuff. And I'm like, what's that? Right? As a kid. Because kids are always asking questions. What's that? And see, the place I lived before was the shore. And down the shore, they used to have high winds and storms. So they had all their wires were in conduits, under the streets. Makes sense, right? Doesn't matter what kind of storm it is. They're in conduits. Doesn't matter. They've got flooding drains and all that stuff. You could have a big storm in those areas, and then the sun comes out. It's like in Florida. I lived on the Gulf Coast of Florida for like a year or 2. And I told you, a tropical storm came right through where I lived. And it caused all kinds of havoc. I mean, it knocked palm trees down, signs, business signs, awnings, things like that. It was scattered all over the place. But when it was over, the sun came out. Like, people don't realize how fast these things literally come through. And I went out and walked to the convenience store, get a pack of cigarettes or something. And I'm looking at all this debris of tops of palm trees and sign from, some boutique, an awning from somebody's house. And just general stuff, anything that wasn't like, seriously fastened down, was all over the streets. And I used to cross this park to get to this convenience store I used to frequent. But after the storm passes, the street, it wasn't like it flooded. But during the storm, when I looked out my window, because I had a window facing like as the storm came out, and I photographed this. I got to find that video. It was taken with an old, video camera, cassette camera. I have the camera here, actually. Let me just get rid of this news thing for a second. Look at this thing. This old Sony camera. Remember, I was a filmmaker. This is like a nice camera. Get that lens and stuff. But this camera takes. See if I can do this. It still works. It's been on the floor for so long. Oh, that's the. Where's the cassette? Right here. I got to get this thing. See, I have to hook it up, and what I have to do is, if you can look closely here, you see those RCAs and those outputs. So I have to and there's look at the audio in. This has one of those microphones you put on the top. This is like a TV camera. Like I say, I give you these first-hand stories, stuff that really happens. Not like other people, just like, I saw something on YouTube. But the way they structured that place, because they knew that these things happened. Man, that thing was filled with dust. I'm going to turn the air conditioner on. It's getting too hot in here. I'll be right back. I also got one of these hand wipes. The camera's hasn't been touched in a long time. I brought it out with the intention of, I have a box of these mini cassettes. Oh, somewhere. Trying to get comfortable again. But yeah. But what I'm trying to say is that in that town where I lived, might as well take advantage of this thing. Clean off this keyboard.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
That was neat. That was unintentional. That was just me rubbing this thing on there. But what I'm trying to get at is that as I do my housekeeping, that town knew they got tropical storms. This is what I've been trying to say all along. And so they were structured and had drainage and whatever else you have to do as a city planner living in that kind of environment that has this repetitive sort of thing. Forces of nature. Let me get a drink of hot here. Like I told you, one of the downfalls of putting the air conditioner on is that that makes my coffee get cooler quicker. Pardon me. So anyway, after that tropical storm hit, then even though the water in the street was way up, blowing in, storm surge, because I was only a couple blocks from the Gulf, the beach. And so the storm surge all comes in, that first wave when it hits. Like I said in another show, and then the palm trees are all going in the direction, that the wind's blowing. Then the eye of the storm hits, and then everything's calm. And somebody who's never seen one before thinks, oh, it's over. But then it's not. Then the winds start picking up, and then the palm trees are going in the other direction, or whatever. And then the thing's gone. All right. And my seat keeps falling down. And in a town city, whatever, that's properly built, engineered or re-engineered, right? That water just like disappears, man. The storm drains, they've got it all set up. And so I was able to, right after the storm, just walk to the convenience store. And this guy I knew who owned the place, he was in there. I guess he was riding it out to make sure his stuff was safe or whatever. And got my cigarettes and came home after having a little chit-chat with my bro. So, you know, they don't do this anymore. You know? Because I said, the brilliant minds we have, or the people that are capable of doing this stuff, and all the money, all the VC money, venture capital money, Wall Street money, like BlackRock is buying up houses, like they've got some kind of weird concept that everybody's going to be a renter. They're buying up complete neighborhoods. See, they don't care about humans. They don't care about any of this stuff. So why aren't when we had Hurricane Agnes, well, Agnes was back in the 70s. That's the one I lived through, that one too. That was a terror. All right. Katrina that destroyed New Orleans. Why didn't they, come down there and create this futuristic city using the best minds, focusing on all sorts of ideas to deal with storm surge and, wind dissipation and all that sort of thing? I mean, all these things are possible. They're all proven, There are studies done in wind tunnels all the time, but unfortunately they're used on military jets and things like that to see how fast they could go or how stealth they can work. They don't deal with places like cities where you'll have loss of life, loss of property, and loss of livelihood. And the news media, they don't discuss this kind of stuff. They just feed on this. Time is not on our side. It was on your side. I heard the National Weather Service yesterday, 4 p.m, saying, hey, you got plenty of time. And he was right. Because this thing's just making, coming into making landfall, and the worst of it's going to hit, when they say 1 p.m. today, it might be moving faster than they thought. But yeah, there was plenty of time to evacuate people that needed to be evacuated. And since Katrina hit years ago, they had years literally, to do something about it. I was around during that. I've been to New Orleans. And, it's a corrupt area, man. Government-wise, it's very corrupt. Now, they know they have storms. Everybody, New Orleans, all these people have seen, they have porches, like these high porches and stuff, because, basically, it's always flooded since it was the days, like they call it the French Quarter. I mean, since it was French Louisiana Purchase, right? Here's another one. Assumption Parish orders mandatory evacuation ahead of Ida. Shoreline residents urged to flee. And then below here, there's something somebody slams Biden for attack. Anyway. So you understand the absurdity of the news. I'm not even going to get into that because I'm not a political person. That's what I'm trying to get across, this point of dystopia today. That's the theme of this show. All right. And my ongoing themes of you don't know what you don't know, game over, everything you know is wrong. Right. I mean, the insanity of it all. That's Mother Nature. It's not caused by CO2 in the atmosphere. These things have been happening forever. Ever. 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 The Morning Show with Tony C. That was my title card from today. That's me. It almost looks like that movie, you know, Las Vegas, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas a little bit. But no, that's just me. I just did that this morning. I took that picture literally right before I came on the air, just using a visual effect, computer visual effect. Fear and Loathing in the United States of America, basically, I guess I could have put on there. Now that I see it. When I did it at the time, I was just looking for something that was just totally ridiculous. Because that's how everything is right now. It's insanity. Guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance. Home office use only. That's kind of funny. I don't know. I used to have life insurance and I had to cash it in one time because I was frickin' broke. Anyway, contrasting this makes my cheeks look fat. Let's get rid of that title card. I think I showed you everything you needed to see. So here we go again. So right now, all of these things that have been in the fore, you know, are now taking a back seat to a storm. And then Afghanistan is even taking a back seat to the storm today, right? It's a secondary story. So the thing you can't talk about is like a tertiary story. And then all of these other things, these exposés about the lies of the politicians and the media and Big Pharma and all this other stuff that came out that I covered on previous shows. You know, those things are long forgotten because they were never covered, so they were never given a chance to cover. So the corporatocracy, see, they're opportunists and they certain things they do intentionally, which they can do intentionally. So, you know, there's talk now about Afghanistan, about why did, you know, what are the people at the Pentagon and in the White House this stupid, right? Or were they instructed by their masters, you know, the military industrial complex masters, right? The contractors. Were they instructed to do this so that we could go back in there and have and these guys could make hundreds of billions of dollars again, you know, in another endless war? That's what the talk is among people in the know. People are actually asking that questions. Foundations who've got planes on airlines, they closed the Bagram airport and things like that. They had no reason to do that. They left all this equipment to arm the other side, which means now they have to go to war. And for some crazy reason, they're allowing 200,000 Afghan so-called refugees on board planes and sending them into the United States, and who knows where they're going to end up. In my neighborhood. But they're not evacuating the Americans. So the Americans get killed, and that outrages the Americans, and so then the Americans say, yeah, we're for the war. Kill those people that killed Americans. You see? Gulf of Tonkin. Vietnam War. Okay? Weapons of mass destruction, Iraq. Okay? The military-industrial complex has a history of lying in order to make hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars. It's more like trillions. Excuse me. So we got that going on. Big Pharma lying to make hundreds of billions, if not ultimately trillions of dollars. Where's this infrastructure bill? Like I was saying yesterday. Do you think they're actually even going to build anything? No. So, it's frickin' dystopia, man. But here's the deal. Here's the sad part. Now, my house I live in dystopia. I know what it's like. I described to you my attic. I'll take a picture of it probably for tomorrow's show. Because, today they're talking 70% chance of a thunderstorm. I don't know what I'm going to do. I just got to, take rugs from my house and just put them all up there and just hope the rugs get soaked. And then the rugs are going to get soaked. They're not going to dry, and I'm going to get mold. And I'll be calling 911 again and going to the ambulance because I'm going to have black mold or spores or something. That's how people live. That's how people live in this country at the bottom. We're all victims to weather and nature and stuff. And it has nothing to do with CO2. I told you about that bunker fuel oil, right? A cruise line produces more than 10 times the entire number of cars in Europe. And like I said, if you take in those ships, container ships coming from China, bringing all that stuff for Walmart and Target, right? And every other frickin' place. Well, they're way more than cruise lines. There's tons of those ships. Do you ever see? I mean, if you've never been to down San Diego Harbor, if you ever see where these places, these things come in, right along the West Coast. I've been over there. Yeah, there's a lot of them, and they all use that, bunker fuel. And, of course, the military uses it on all their ships out there. But for some reason, Greta and that Trudeau guy, soy boy, president of Canada, Peter Pan, soy boy man, they never talk about that. They're all concerned about putting windmills up to destroy our landscapes and all this other kind of stuff, right? Solar farms and things like that. As much as I get on Elon Musk's case, at least he created those tiles that lasted the same as regular roofs, however you want to say it. Why aren't they using those on all new house builds? They just look like a regular roof. You wouldn't know the difference. Instead of building solar farms that will actually ruin land, wind farms that kill birds and ruin landscapes. And then they only have a life expectancy of a short period of time, and then everyone disowns them because they're financed and sold and resold through these Wall Street firms. And that's the same down there in the Gulf now. So you've got these storm situation, right? Big news. Everybody's going to talk about it. Tragedies, of course. But like I say, I think many of the tragedies would have been preventable. It's the year 2021. We should be able to. After Katrina, that city should have been totally redesigned. And all along the Gulf Coast of Florida and all these various other states along here, Mississippi, Alabama, like I say, Florida, of course, and Texas, They should have been dealing with stuff down there. High-tech answers. Instead of worrying about a new improved iPhone so that you can watch a movie on your iPhone with your friends and chat during it. This is what our money, all right, and our best minds in this country are being wasted on. Think about it. Or robots that could do kind of like mimic human behavior. Maybe deliver the pizza someday. Well, a person can do that. Self-driving cars. One of the biggest scams in ever. Okay? In other words, either get rid of the car, all right, and put in some incredible monorail type system, right? You know, futuristic 2021 technology, right? It's 2020 fucking one. People don't even get this because half the people in charge were born in the late 90s and stuff. They don't know that they don't know this is the fucking future, man. It's the fucking future. To them, it's just their life. They're like 20. They just graduated college, right? If you were born in like 1999 or 2000, you just might have graduated college, right? Depending on like, you know, when your birthday was. Oh, it's not the future for you. It's just, I'm out of college. Let's see. What can I do? Well, my degree's useless. I owe $30,000 or $40,000 in student loans. Let's see. Do I go participate in that protest? Or do I just get together with a bunch of roommates, rent an apartment, and hang out and hope they extend the non-eviction order? Or do I, go with mommy and daddy, or mommy and daddy are split? Do I hang out with daddy at the Cape, or wherever? Or do I lounge in mommy's pool? It's the fucking future, man. It's 2021. You idiots. Functionally illiterate people. Mass insanity. People are just walking around. No. It's like, go watch 2001: A Space Odyssey, a movie made in the 1960s, and see what they thought 2001, the year you were fucking born, was supposed to look like. And could well have. People are freaking nuts, man. I'm telling you.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
People are freaking nuts. When I say dystopia, it is dystopia. So you know what? Yeah, I'll put fucking rugs and shit down, and I'll take a picture of it and show you what it's like to live in misery. But you know what? It's not that bad. I'll figure this out because I'm a human being. I got a conscience. I wrote a book about the hard problem of consciousness, Codex back there, that reddish book. Nobody fucking bought. I'm only doing about 9 more shows because I got to shift in because I got to finish up my 10th book. All right, and that starts in September. Okay, this is show 241 or 242, something like that. Once I hit 250, that's it. 250 shows in 1 year. Think about it. 2-hour shows. That's why I don't give a shit. But yeah, it's the future. So, I'm sure everyone's going to be glued to their frickin' TV. There's nobody looking at this now. It's 7:30. People are up. They could look at this if they want to. They're glued to their local affiliate. Local NBC, ABC, CBS affiliate or Fox affiliate, right? Watching the storm and these people telling stories and getting all worked up. Oh, these patients in these hospitals. Yeah, you should have evacuated them yesterday frickin' afternoon. The airlines are anything but at capacity right now in the United States due to the thing, right? They could have had nonstop flights. Talk about evacuation from Afghanistan. That's the same thing there. Why didn't they start? See, here's the thing. You guys are morons, all right? You share this video so that when I talk about you, I don't mean you personally, the guy who shares this. I mean about the person you share it to. How come in Afghanistan they didn't start evacuating Americans out of there like 3-4 weeks ago? Right? I won't even get on these people, these foundations. I'm not going to name them. There's one prominent one by a guy who was a radio host. Raised a lot of money. He went over, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, what do you think at the last minute you're going to get those people out of there? You should have been doing that weeks ago. This was announced. This was announced last year that we were pulling out. Okay? That's what I'm saying. Like, people have this thing, like, whatever the news people tells them or the White House press secretary tells them, then they suddenly it it erases their frickin' mind, That's fucking nuts, isn't it? Yeah. That's you, not me. You're looking in the fucking mirror, man.
Jukebox Gold.
Gotcha. So anyway, they could have been doing this and should have been doing it. Yeah. They didn't do it. Because the military-industrial complex wanted this to happen. The same way as they don't prepare for storms. I'm so tired. I still have relatives who live in Florida, and they go, we got a bad storm coming. Yeah, right. Well, what are you doing down there for? Why are you living there? It's hot down here. It's climate change. Yeah, right. It's been fucking hot. I lived in Florida. It's always been fucking hot. They've always had hurricanes. And yeah, they've had hurricanes way worse than any of these things. There's more tornadoes. Yeah, it's called Tornado Alley. It's been called that for fucking ever. People are such idiots, man. This is the worst forest fire in history. In history. Okay, when do you start history? Do you start with the Greeks, the Egyptians, the dynastic Egyptian period? Or do you believe in the Sumerian? Is that your beginning of history? Or do you go back to Göbekli Tepe, 12,000 years? Is that history to you? Or is history what anthropologists look at when, the earliest known bones of man, modern man, have been found? The worst forest fire in history? Is it 2,000 years, 6,000 years, 12,000 years? All right? Or is it like hundreds of thousands or 1 million years? Is the worst forest fire in history? People sitting there watching ABC, NBC, CBS. It's the worst forest fire in history because of CO2 cars. No, I don't know what bunker fuel is. Yeah, put a windmill and ruin the flicking landscapes and kill all the birds. We need to have more solar farms. You don't know your jack shit about solar. I have a solar panel that's about, let's see if I can, this fucking screen is pissing me off. Let's see, where's this hand? This hand then. Bring this hand in. Okay, now let's move this hand out. I have a solar panel that's about yay wide and is about the same width of this, like this screen. Okay? That thing runs the fan in my greenhouse, which is on right now. Even when the sun's not even out, the moment light comes out, it starts. Now, when it gets sunny, that thing is in hyperspeed, and it's only a 40 watter. I had to put a step-down transformer in there because it was blowing the engine, the motor in the fan. So I had to put a step-down transformer to step it down to get closer to 12 volts. You have no idea the power of the sun, and not to mention the health benefits. And the power of CO2, because that's what all the plants and trees. Remember, this is their frickin' planet, not ours. And these people who think man made anything, get up in an airplane, look down, you can't see any humans. Just see though, you see the people who the organisms, the creatures, the life that really lives here. And you see forests, okay? And oceans. We're frickin' ants, man. People are such fucking idiots, man, I'll tell you. So yeah, game over. It's game fucking over, Game fucking over. I can do anything I want to with this thing. It's interesting the delay that, I noticed this thing has gotten delayed a lot longer, the broadcasts. And they're hiding them now, too. Because I've had a couple of people say that they can't find it. They have to, seek it out and shit. They're afraid of a guy like me because, I'm getting to the point where, because I watch a lot of YouTube. I mean, an awful lot of YouTube. Because I don't have cable TV. I cut the cord. All right? And there's not, these damn Netflix and Amazon Prime and stuff. And I won't even waste my time on those other ones that got commercials and stuff on them. So I watch all this stuff, and I realize that, what? I am the only guy saying this stuff. Basically. I mean, there's one or two other people, but they then they get into weird stuff, off the wall stuff. I mean, I'm only one of the only guys who's actually saying stuff from firsthand experience. And he's saying it as it is. And he's got everything branded. My mugs, right? Look back here, over here. There's the old morning show mug. Remember I used that for how many? 100 shows. Got my own books. Great solar stuff. Hats. Where is it? Well, that boom. No. If I could get to it. See, everything's backwards. There. That's a shirt, actually. I ought to just take it off the wall and just make one of these things instead of having that shirt there. I'm the only guy saying this stuff. That's why I got zero viewers and 3 viewers I get. And I guess I get random viewers once it's posted somehow, some why, where, when, who. It's frustrating in one regard. But this is This is my service to humanity. That's what this is. I don't make any money on it. Yeah, it's a totally branded show. You know, in other words, it's run better than any of these other shows. You know, there's all these guys have shows, and some of them are like YouTube millionaires, and a couple of them might be able to sell you a mug or something or a T-shirt. This is like a total branded show. A guy who's written 9 books. I'm working on my 10th book. I have 50 frickin' tracks, beat poetry tracks that are available. I'm available everywhere. My stuff's available everywhere. Bookstores everywhere. Music is available everywhere. Right? Everything's branded. Right? And I get 0 views. You tell me that's not intentional. And I'm telling you things, and I'm correct and right and predictive in most instances. Coffee got cold because I had to put the air conditioner on. My electric bill is going to be like $5,000 fucking dollars. Well, why don't you get solar panels if you're like Mr. Know-It-All about solar panels? Because I'm fucking broke and you're too cheap to buy a fucking mug or a T-shirt. That's why. Or share this video. That's why. I can't afford a fucking any more solar panels. My roof's leaking. You know what it's like to live in a house where you got a leaky roof and it's right above your bedroom? And you're just waiting for it. Like, I actually have this plastic thing above my bed, and there was water did make it into that plastic thing that I have like tilted like a, so it goes so that if water does leak from that part of the roof, it'll go into a bucket on the ground. It's like a Rube Goldberg device, if you know what that is. How would you like to live like that? And then on days when it's not raining, you like smell and it's like musty and you're in your bedroom and you wonder why you're fucking every 3 weeks calling 911 and being hauled off to the fucking hospital. Fucking joke, man. But, I got a lot of tomatoes. In fact, let's see here. I don't care about anything anymore. iPhone. See, I do have an iPhone. Dismiss. I must have left my iPhone on last night. Oops. Almost knocked something over. Not that it would have been a disaster. Yeah, forgot to totally shut my iPhone off. These are some of my apps. Should pop up soon. Should pop up soon. Oh, it's below my video capture device. Let's try that again. There we go. There you go. It's acting up. It was there for a second. There we are. I don't know why it's acting up weird. These are tomatoes. This is a picture I took yesterday. I shared this on Instagram. And they are tomatoes. I don't know why this is. Well, I guess that's the way I took the picture. You don't need to see my face. Look at those tomatoes, and there's a pepper there too. That's grown in my garden. Man, that picture, something happened there. Okay. There's in the wild. For some reason, all this stuff's coming up blurry. I don't know if it's because it's too big or. But you see those tomatoes growing in the wild in my backyard? They're not really in the wild. It's just And there's some kale. For some reason, it's just not picking up my iPhone stuff right. And that's the overgrowth on the back part of my house. I think I showed you that picture before. But like, this is the main thing. I mean, I've been on this like tomato diet almost. That's how many tomatoes I have. It's pretty crazy. And even if I turn off the phone, it still shows it, which is really weird. It's really strange. But that's the news of the day, you know. So let's look at this thing here. And let me get rid of this game over temporarily, because people want to know stuff. All right. And you don't know what you don't know could go for a second. And those guys from Mystery Science Theater, they're pointing in the wrong direction. Well, the hell with them. So at 4 a.m. this morning, this is what this looked like. So they're saying it's heading more for Baton Rouge. And then it's going to take a curve, you know, then it's going to curve towards the right, you know, and go upwards. But at this point, you know, you're talking about winds 140 miles per hour. This is just a couple hours ago. And, you know, so the idea that is those winds haven't, I doubt if those winds have gone down. It's a pretty crazy storm. Yeah. Southeast of Yuma, Louisiana. So this is what you're watching on TV today. And that's going to be the news that takes the place of everything else. And then they'll just break in these little things. So it's the image of the day. I waited a little while to show you. That should be the image of the day, though. But it's game over, man. You don't know what you don't know. And it is pure dystopia. So, yeah, you know, I got my garden, my growth. I'll live through it. I'll put a bunch of rugs down. If I get some extra money here or there, I'm going to buy some roof paint, and I'm going to paint my attic fucking floor. You know? Just let my roof leak into my attic. I have a floor up there because I think years ago, this is a 100-some-year-old house. And at one time, that must have been like a bedroom. I think they probably, the first guy that built this house or whatever, I think it was his kid's room or something. Because it's got like a linoleum. Or the guy had a similar problem before they put a roof on it, maybe at some point, and they put down like this linoleum floor. But it's old now, so it's, excuse me, it's not completely waterproof. I'm going to show a picture of this tomorrow because today I have to go up there and deal with this thing. Just so I keep myself dry. And I'll tell you, yesterday was really weird when we had that like thunderstorm. I tried opening one of the windows. There's a window up there. The old-fashioned wooden windows, you know, those kind that come down like a guillotine. You know what I'm talking about? The old wooden windows that got some kind of weight in the wall, but you know, they get older or something and the counterweights don't work right. And the thing just if you lift, you can lift it up, but it like wants to just boom, come right down. Well, I opened that thing up with one hand and I was holding one of these trays of water that was dripping down and they were filling up. And when I opened the window, a gust of wind came in so strong that it like spilled the water in the tray I had, like pushed it all at me and onto the floor. That was crazy. That's how like that thunderstorm that came through. It's like had gusty winds and this deluge just came down. And I could see through the back alley because when you're up that high, I could see for miles because I could see the whole Appalachian Mountains around me. And there was like a river flowing down in the alley behind my house. Literally a river. So I'm curious to see what happened to my garage if that got flooded. Probably. The back part of the garage probably got flooded, which means that'll be smelling damp and musty and all that for like who knows how long. Mold growing in there. This is how people live. All right? This is how most people live. You know? That line, people live lives of quiet desperation. You know, not everybody's got flooding problems or a leaky roof. But not everybody's got health problems. Not everybody's got financial problems. Not everybody's got marital problems or relationship problems. Not everybody's got car problems or, you know, fear problems, crime problems, neighborhood problems, you know. Lost someone, you know, in some conflict problems, computer problems, are about to get hit by a storm problems, you know, all that stuff. Not everyone has those problems. Some people have all those problems, right? I've got to fix that game over, girl. I got to get the background out of that. And I have to shoot that onto another computer to do that. And I'm going to have to do that today. Because it's just one of those things. And I'm curious what that is. That is considered hoodie, and that's product picks, shirts, game over. You know. I'm going to have to deal with that today. So anyway, that's about it. I don't think that, you know, there's nothing else I can, what else can I say, you know? I mean, some people have this problem.
You got a rattlesnake inside your house. You got a rattlesnake inside your house. Oh, yeah. There's just one in here?
Yeah, I hope.
Call David Bailey now. Hey, David Bailey!
Well, Kingdom, eat your heart out.
Oh, yeah.
Still my all-time favorite.
Good morning.
Well, if you feel like it, you can go to TonyCaravanLive.com or ROCKFLUX.com and support this site. Great solar stuff. Buy something. You know, it's really a sad situation is that great solar stuff, I have those jackeries and solar panels and things. There's people down south who are going to be out of power. And I talked about this because I said to prepare for hurricane season. And, of course, nobody shared this video and nobody paid attention. You could have survived, all right, if you would have gone to great solar stuff. And the rest of you people, listen, I'm telling you, this stuff is happening all over the place. I don't make any money on this stuff. I'm doing this for you. You know? Anyway. Go to TonyCaravanLive.com, scroll down, buy some shirts, or go to Great Solar Stuff and buy some crap, man. Spend a few bucks. Charge it on your credit card. What the hell? Once you reach a certain age, you don't have to pay those things off. I'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully I'll remember to take some pictures of that nightmare upstairs. That's assuming I can stop it from like